Okay, so today we're focusing on spiritual connection, embodying the divine, and I've put together some slides that will have this discussion on the alchemy of ascension. And this is a whole entire process that I was started over 20 years ago when I had a spontaneous Kundalini activation, and this opened up my awareness, in the sense the veils were gone, and opened up my awareness that we were heading towards an incredibly rare event that we are now in. But at that time in 94, I was getting, flashing in the mind, 2012. This is the year that everything will start to pick up speed and really propel us into an accelerated evolution. And not only just on the physical level, but emotional, mental, spiritual. This is affecting us on all levels of our being. And so I want to go through these slides with you. If you have any questions, Neil will pick up the questions and we can discuss those. I want to spend up to the first hour just in this discussion and diving deep into the material, and then the remaining half hour we will walk through the steps, very practical steps that you can join me, and we will go through Ascension Activations. And these are all the activations that I've gone through myself, so it's very time tested and really very effective in accelerating our process. Okay, so let's just talk about real quickly, what is this ascension? Because there's a lot of confusion, I think, or people are just waking up and not quite sure what this whole momentum is about. And so it's an actual stair-step process as we continue to evolve in vibration and in awareness and understanding. It's kind of, we rise up and we level out, and rise up and level out. So it's definitely gives the body a chance, gives the psyche a chance to absorb what just got upgraded, and we integrate and we clear and we heal, and then we rise up some more. And it's, this, as my understanding and my experience of dimensions, these are actually just different levels of awareness or consciousness. So as we rise up each dimension, we're able to have more access to the abundance of the universe that it exists at that dimensional level. Now, we have been existing for thousands of years at just 3 dimensions, and this is, of course, kept us pretty dumbed down and limited. So this is what's so exciting about what's happening right now, is all of those constrictions are starting to disentangle and break apart and come away and open us up, so we can continue to evolve beyond just 3 dimensions. And this ascension process is also very much linked to what's happening within our own energy centers. Our own chakra pillar is the energy body, the energy channel, and our goal is, of course, to open that all up so that it can fill with more light and Kundalini life force and spiritual presence. This chakra pillar is our direct channel to our higher self, to our oversoul presence, and to source creator. So we're moving away from being more outward focused, horizontally connecting to the external world of the astral plane, and we're learning to work with our energy more in a vertical flow, going up to the higher self, bringing the higher self back down, and embodying our soul presence. This is a huge part of this ascension. It's not so much that we get into this bliss state and we kind of leave the body and go into the ethers. No, this is about literally bringing and embodying the divine presence, our divine self, in with the human self. That's the goal. So as we go through these steps, in a sense, we're creating this environment for our divine self and our human self to merge as one. This is the physical and spiritual world starting to merge inside us. And this, of course, is what we call unity consciousness. So this, again, is learning, well, what's it like to live in unity consciousness? It changes everything. So, okay, so we'll go through some of the steps, very practical steps on how to do this. I was just talking about the energy channel. So I have here an image of the lower physical chakras. There's 7 physical chakras, and then above the crown, there's actually 5 astral chakras. There's 12 total. We call this the 12 chakra pillar, 12 chakra channel, and each chakra connects to one of the 12 dimensions of our universe. So we're going to start to see there's a correlation with 12. Keep that in mind. Now, as you see here in the illustration, each of the chakra can get blocked and full of toxins and trauma and wounded energy. And so this is part of what the ascension is we ascend up our chakra pillar. As we ascend up, we connect to higher dimensions. So as you can see down in these lower chakras, the first 3 are connected to our 3 dimensions. And how much of this have we had to clear here? You know, the root chakra is connected to survival. So this is where we get a lot of that survival fear. It gets locked in there. We have trouble with setting boundaries. We go into the second chakra, the sacral, and this, of course, is our creative center and our pleasure center, but it gets loaded up with guilt. The third chakra, the solar plexus, this is our power center, but this can get loaded up with shame. So these are some of the energies that we're working on healing and clearing and neutralizing, so that those energy centers are open and free and filling with life force, with kundalini. That's our goal. So you can see here the heart is filled with grief. There's a lot of healing to be done in the heart center, because our heart is the main hub of the energy body. It links the physical with the transpersonal. So that heart is key. The heart is what we use to sense and intuit, and it will open us up to more of these higher chakras of spirit. So instead of going through all of these, I just wanted to show you all the different areas that we are working on, and they could come up in different areas in your life. You might have situations or conditions that are kind of triggering either of these chakras for clearing. So it's just having that awareness that, oh man, today I woke up, I felt really depressed, and heavy. And I find when I was healing the heart center, I would even have like asthmatic breathing, and it was like, whoa, what's coming out of the heart here? And it was old grief, and it could even be past life grief. So of course, that's why we're digging in through the layers to peel away what has been built up in the energy body for thousands of years. So I encourage everyone, when they become aware of one of these areas getting triggered, not to feel like it's a travesty. It's not. It's literally your body is working with you. Your body is trying to help you open up and clear and heal and become the full channel that you're meant to be. As we open up the chakra centers, get the channel opened up, then the higher self, the soul presence, can descend down and in. So think of it like you're getting in there and doing internal house cleaning. All right, we got to get this stuff out and heal from thousands of years of persecution and limitations and fear and pain. And that way then you become this open conduit, and spirit is flowing through you and filling you and enhancing you, and it helps you heal and regenerate the health of the body, regenerate your life force. So just keep this image in mind. Your chakra pillar is your channel all the way up to the higher self, because we're going to be working with this when we do the live activations. Okay, chakra pillar. Now, we're talking about centuries of being locked in a very dense, low vibratory physical system. For thousands of years, our body has been vibrating around 7-8 hertz. I mean, that's almost as solid as a rock. So you can imagine how impossible it's been to get the soul to descend into such density. So what we're trying to do is open up and increase the vibration of the physical self, the physical body. And I'm going to show you ways to do that. We want to increase the brainwave frequencies as well. Most of us have been operating in pretty much alpha, beta brainwave frequencies, and kind of this anxious, alert state. And we want to transcend that and get even higher into the gamma frequency, which is 25 hertz and higher. So again, we're lifting the vibration of the body, we're lifting the frequencies of the brain waves. Everything gets higher, it gets lighter, it gets cleaner, so that you're creating this pure energy body for the higher self to descend down and in. I mentioned here that also we are evolving along with our planet. You know, we live in this electromagnetic field of our planet, and it also has been running pretty low, 7-8 hertz for thousands of years, but it's also getting higher. And so they are able to measure the frequency output of our planet. It's called the Schumann's resonance. And you see here on the graph that this year, the Schumann's resonance has already hit above 30 hertz. And so everybody's being affected by this. We can't escape it. And so we're going hand in hand. We're going through this stair-step process. So is our planet. And we go together into these higher ranges of frequencies. So one of the things to kind of apply just practically in your daily life is watching how you're ingesting energy, because you want to keep going higher and lighter and more into the refined frequencies of soul, of spirit. So I always ask the question, in everything that I encounter, does this increase or decrease my energy frequency? And you can feel it as you start to use more of your sensory body. You are able to tell, is it exciting you? Is it enhancing you? Are you feeling tingly, you know, and it's feeling loving? That tells you it is a very high frequency and it's safe to engage with and work with and allow into your reality. If you start to feel it's dropping your vibration, or you're getting irritable, or you're starting to feel shut down, or almost like you're getting repelled by it, I would recommend back away from that energy and just avoid it. So again, we start to become more selective of what we engage in, and I have some other just suggestions that you can add in to continue to increase your energy frequency. Think about, you're ingesting this into your own chakra pillar, into your own biology. So using raw foods are very high live foods, very high frequency. I'm gonna walk you through the steps to use the quantum vortex. This is a Ascension tool technique to spin your energy faster. That's what a frequency is. It's measuring the oscillation rate, the spin momentum of your energy. So we want to spin faster. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. Also, working with the breath. Boy, I'll tell you, when I first started this whole process 20 years ago, I could barely breathe. You know, it's like my whole chest, again, I had a lot of wounding in the heart center, so it was very guarded and tight, and I could barely squeak a breath out of there. And so I actually worked with a breath worker for 6 months and helped me open the chest up, open up and use a deep diaphragm breath, pranic breath. And as I walk you through the live activations, you're going to see I use the breath to move energy vertically, up and down, out, in. So it becomes, in a way, your vehicle. Your breath is your vehicle to move spirit. And so if you can't breathe, I would recommend you could do Kundalini yoga, work with a breath worker. There's lots of ways, exercise, really train the body to breathe deeply. And also, I encourage everyone to add silica into their daily routine. Silica is so important because we are bringing in light current. That's what our soul is made of light and sound. So we're ingesting electrical current into the biology. And so if you think about that, that could be hard for the body to absorb in. So we're, again, spinning up faster, helping the body be able to metabolize light current into the biocircuits, into the meridians and channels and chakra centers. By doing this, we are helping it. The silica helps the body to be able to metabolize that light in. The silica is quartz crystal. It helps crystallize the cells so they can actually live on and thrive on light. Okay, so that's the whole conversion that's happening right now. We're going from dense, hard, carbon-based cellular makeup to a very high frequency crystalline cellular makeup. That's a huge conversion, and this is why it's taking some time for the body to be able to purge out the toxins, purge out the density and the emotions and the trauma, and then start to convert into becoming crystalline centers that can run light. We are going to become a light body. So again, follow the energy vibration. Be really selective what you let into your field. Now, we want to kind of just get an overview of what we've been dealing with. You know, why do we have to clear all these chakra centers? Why do we have to increase our energy frequency? What's been happening that's actually limiting us? So when I started doing this process, I used remote viewing to look at my other lives. So I've been here a few times as a visitor, and I've dropped into certain civilizations, and one of them was Tepi, Egypt, which is at the time of the mystery schools of teaching this alchemy. And so this is what we're tapping into today when we do these steps, is this ancient alchemy from the mystery schools. And what I was seeing back then, before the fall and consciousness entered the planet, that original human beings were these beautiful, like morphic fields that were just flashing and creating and materializing according to the consciousness that was flowing through them. Like, how beautiful is that? That is the original blueprint that we have stored away in our cellular memory. So look at that, and then look at where we are now. Okay, something has radically changed on this planet that would make us so limited. And so one of the things that we've been dealing with is what's called a virtual computer simulation. And when I would look out, I would remote view and look out at the universe, it was fascinating, because that's what I was able to start to see, how we truly are in a holographic universe. It was literally like flashing kaleidoscope realities, and they're infinite number of possible outcomes and solutions and creations. And so we are very limited in the fact that we have been having trouble access the holographic infinite realities available to us. So why is that? Well, since the fallen consciousness has taken over the planet, we've been in a sense, an electromagnetic dead zone, and we've also been at the edge of dark matter in our galaxy for the past 26,000 years. And so this has really impacted our ability to access the original human blueprint that is alive inside us, waiting for us to turn on. So since we are in a holographic universe, our mind basically operates somewhat similar to like a television set. You know, whatever we lock our focus onto begins to flash into the mind as a reality, a virtual reality. So we were born into a planetary field that had been invaded and is being controlled by a virtual matrix simulation. So examples of this, have you ever had times you would have this like brilliant, intuitive kind of aha moment and inspired to create something new, and then you go to try to process it through the mind, and then bam, you hit the wall. I can't tell you how many times I had that happen. And it was like, poof, it's gone. This is where we would enter and slam into that matrix simulation. So this is trying to control us in a certain way that keeps us very limited and unaware, and basically like a slave, basically being controlled and manipulated by the controllers. So the good news is, on December 21st, 2012, the matrix simulation started to break down and lose control. Woohoo! So I'll never forget that day. I was up at Mount Shasta, and I was getting the very strong imagery in my mind. It was somewhat like, think of it like a viewing room, like in NASA, where they're watching a launch of a satellite or something, and the screen went dead, blank. Well, that's what's been happening. And as the simulation is dying and collapsing and breaking down, all the veils are starting to lift off people's minds. That walls, those walls we were hitting, they're starting to release or dissolve or break away. So this is allowing so many people on the planet now to awaken to the truth of what's happening, become conscious of what's happening, and then start to become their own creator of their reality instead of being in a controlled planetary matrix simulation. Okay, so the key is then that matrix simulation was actually keeping us very dense, and this is what was pushing the soul out of the body. I remember when I first started working with clients 20 years ago, I would get, intend to connect to their soul presence, and I would get pulled into the aura. I was like, how come nobody's souls are in their body? And then I started looking at myself, I'm going, whoa, I'm not either. And so we need to get grounded. We need to bring the spiritual self inside us, but it's been so difficult to stay in the body and stay grounded because it's been such a polarized planet that we've been living in. And look at the news, it's still very polarized, but we're developing our own ecosystem to live outside of that polarity, and that's the beauty of all this. Okay, so the key is we want to get grounded, and I'll walk you through the steps to do that, show you how to do it. We want to actually not ground anymore to the 3D physical grid. This is corrupted, it's polarized. It was probably around 2000 I started getting really strong instruction from my higher self saying, get off that grid, it's causing you to get ill, it's really keeping you in low vibration. So what I was able to do is think of it kind of like you're jumping tracks from, like you're at a train station and you're going to jump from one grid to the next. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to jump onto the 5th dimensional grid. It's a grid of crystal light. So it's ley lines of diamond white light, and it's all along the surface of the planet. It's actually in a flower of life formation all around the planet. So we then pick that as our grounding grid. That's every morning I wake up, lock my feet chakras. Our feet chakras work like magnets, and we lock onto that crystal light grid. And that's the first choice you make. You are saying, I'm no longer going to put my energy and my power into a polarized matrix running on the 3D grid. I'm now going to select to get into this ascension process and get onto the crystal grid. Also, we want to neutralize all this polarity that got into our bodies, and there's a lot. And as we continue to deal with people and situations and the world at large, we could keep getting polarity coming in. So this is something that I do regularly, and I'll walk you through the step to do it. We want to neutralize polarity and create what's called a 0-point field inside our core. Think of it as, when you hear people say, I need to get centered. Well, that's it. We need to get centered in our balance point. So we'll go through the step to do that. Also, because we've been living in this matrix simulation, it's cut off or disconnected our ability to get into the right brain. Most of us have had trouble doing that. The left brain is where we've been pretty much dominated, and it's the analytical left brain. It's connected to the 3D particle field of matter. This is also where the ego's running and mostly in the left brain. And it's the right brain we want to activate and get up and running. So we're actually using both brains simultaneously. The intuitive right brain's connected to the holographic virtual particle field of spirit, to the energy channel, the energy body. So this is where we want to get, where we're using both. And this way you're more really a whole mind, left and right brain synergy, creating a whole mind. And you're no longer at the mercy of that matrix simulation running in you anymore. Okay, embodying the soul presence, the divine self. This is so key to the ascension. All right, let's go to the next chart. Now, we've been talking about how polarity has been pushing the soul out of the body and really keeping us very dense and disconnected from spirit and from our intuition and soul guidance, you know. So we need to get in and clear the chakra pillar, but we also need to get the physical body and the energy body in phase. They have not been operating at the same frequency. So many times when I'm working with people, they'll say, I can't feel anything. You know, you're doing all these activations, but I can't feel anything. Well, when I first started doing this process, I couldn't feel anything either. My physical body was too dense. It was really low vibration, and the energy body, of course, is charging up with light. So we need to bring them together where they actually harmonize and they become coherent. So if that's a new term to you in physics, coherence describes when two energy waves or energy fields frequency lock together and they become resonant. They are in phase. And for the most part, people's physical bodies and energy bodies are not in phase. So we want to bring them into coherence. And also, when we get this heart opened and healed from the wounding, from the trauma, again, that heart is the bridge between the lower self and the lower chakras and the higher self and the higher chakras. So we want the heart to be coherent as well. The heart is starting to pick up. As you keep bringing your higher self down and in, the heart center starts to vibrate in your soul frequency, and you start to build a coherent field with your soul vibration. And this is so important because you know, we could do a whole class on just DNA and how the DNA is responding constantly to the consciousness that's running through us. It's a biological quantum field computer. So whatever we bring in, this is why it's so important to watch what you're ingesting in. We want to bring in higher consciousness. We want to bring in light. We want to continue to update to more of the soul DNA and not so much any of the limiting human DNA. Okay, so this is a big deal. You start becoming more of a galactic being as you update to your soul DNA and your soul blueprint instead of this ancestral lineage that's been handed down to you through the human birth family. Though this is part of all of the upgrades that I mentioned earlier. You keep getting these upgrades, then you level out and integrate, and then get some more. So we're shifting away from being dominated by the 3D thinking mind that holds us in time. We start moving into a coherent heart and living more in the now moment, out of time, and then that opens us up to the fifth dimensional earth plane that we want to get into. And the reason for this is this whole ascension is creating a fifth dimensional feeling field. We're no longer going to be dominated and controlling our lives from the mind, but more from what the heart is intuiting, what the heart is feeling, what the heart is passionate about. And that's where your whole magnetic field that wraps around the chakras and the organs, they start picking up your soul truth and consciousness. Your magnetism begins to convert now to the soul essence, the soul presence. So this shifts how your life is being materialized. It's really, truly extraordinary. You begin to manifest in what matches your soul presence now in the heart center and the magnetic fields. So I'll walk you through the steps to do that as well. Okay, now we're talking about how do we access this alchemy that was trained in the mystery schools thousands of years ago. We're using several impactful sacred geometry templates. So here's the first one that I wanted to introduce you to, and you may have already been using this. It's so effective in so many ways. So we are going to use the infinity figure 8. And I always see it like this, where it literally is vibrating with light. It's so powerful. So we're going to use the infinity figure 8. And you see over here on the image of the human, we're going to run it. You can run it anywhere, But for today's activations, we're going to run it right in the core between heart and solar plexus. You can see it running there at the center of the body, and then also between the left and right brain. So by doing those two centers, mind and matter, we begin to neutralize polarity. The infinity figure eight, it activates more balance. Just look what it's doing. It's balancing opposites. It's bringing them into union, into harmony. It's starting to create a neutral still point there right at the center fulcrum. That becomes a null zone or a vacuum state. That's the 0 point that I mentioned earlier. We'll go into that a little more. So we're going to use the infinity to balance left and right, feminine, masculine, light and shadow, all the opposites that are running inside us. We start to bring them together where they unite and balance each other into more harmony. This is really key in keeping the field neutral. One of the first things that I had to learn in doing this work, especially in holding space with clients, is unconditional love is actually detached compassion. It's a neutral space of loving compassion. So when we are not in a neutral, calm, peaceful centeredness, we're reacting, and we're not able to really come from authentic soul essence when we're reacting, right? We're in a volatile emotional state. So we're learning how to neutralize all our reactions as well. Those are just hot spots that are charged from past trauma. So we're getting in, cleaning out, neutralizing the trauma, neutralizing the pain and suffering of the past. So we're able to flow through our day in more of that calm, neutral state, detached compassion. This is really important to increasing the health and happiness inside. It's the only way to go. Okay, so infinity figure eight. The next sacred geometry template we're going to use is called Metatron's Cube. And this is actually, if you see here in the image, this is the template for Genesis in our universe. Everything, in a sense, sprouts from this geometric shape. If you can look at it in more detail, you'll see that the 5 platonic solids are embedded in Metatron's cube and the star tetrahedron, the upward facing and downward facing tetrahedron. This is the geometry of our light body Merkaba. So Metatron's cube's got everything in there that we want to work with to start to transform ourselves from carbon-based to crystal-based. And it's also what we're going to use to start to activate the counterclockwise spin momentum of the quantum vortex. Everything in our universe is spiraling. If you look at space, everything is a spiraling galaxy. If you look at nature, everything is spiraling, even in how plants are formed or shells, or it's everywhere. Well, we also are spiraling energy. So we're starting to work with our own natural condition and unwind where the matrix got in, unwind where all the corruption got in, and begin to get ourselves back into the natural rhythm of our universe in this anti-clockwise spin. Our planet spins counterclockwise, right? The sun rises in the east and settles in the west. Everything is spinning counterclockwise. Our sun, our great central sun in the galactic center, the galactic vortex is counterclockwise. So we're starting to move into this more open, expanding spin momentum instead of the clockwise compression that creates density in time. We're going opposite of that. We're reversing out of time. And Metatron's cube is what we use to do this. You also see embedded in there's 12 circles. There's the outer 6, and then there's the inner 6, and then the center 13th circle. And so, again, I was mentioning earlier, 12 circles in Metatron's cube. They link up with the 12 dimensions of our universe, the 12 harmonic tones of Phi, and the 12 tribes of the great central sun. So we have here a universal template, ancient template that has been used in many, many civilizations and beyond our planet, and we'll be tapping into Metatron's cube today. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So another sacred geometry template. Now this is, if you can see in the image here, it's the tetrahedron within a circle orb. So when we make it into a three-dimensional form, it's a triangular pyramid within the orb container. From day one, my higher self said, get yourself into your soul stargate. So this is the template for the soul stargate. The tetrahedron pyramid, I literally imagine in my mind stepping into it and grounding my feet chakras, my feet magnets onto the bottom of it every morning. This is how I start my day. You're literally setting up your sacred space to live in. And then the orb wraps around the outer boundary of your aura. So it's a container of light. It's actually made of honeycomb shields of light. So we're starting to establish our own private sacred space. We're creating some personal boundaries around our aura. When I first started doing this work, my aura was like Swiss cheese. It had big holes, drains, and oh my goodness, I was violating, I had all kinds of cords violating my space. So the container will help you feel protected and in your own privacy. So triangle within a circle. We're going to use this image to activate your soul stargate. It's also the universal symbol for hyperdimensional physics. So this is an anti-gravity device, you guys. We want to get free of gravity, free of time, and be able to access unlimited dimensional universe. So we'll do this as we start the activations, getting into the soul stargate and activating the geometry that starts to convert you into a light body. Okay, I think, hold on 1 second. Let me check the chat real quick. Okay, good, we're good. All right, let's go to working with our own magnetism. So this is such an important part of shifting from living in more of the 3D dominated thinking mind and moving into more of the 5th dimensional feeling field. And let's talk about the shift between 3 dimension and 5th dimension real quick, because this could be a little confusing from people. I know some people thought, well, what are we doing? Are we leaving the 3D earth and going to a 5D earth? And so it's not. That's again more of the left brain trying to figure this out. It's not as much a physical move as you're opening up your chakra pillar to these higher chakras, which opens you up to higher dimensional consciousness and awareness and understandings and opportunities. So think of it as, you're kind of going up like flights in a skyscraper. We're moving up from the 3rd floor to the 5th floor. We're still in the lower floors, but we now have 5 floors where we can see out and access this abundant universe. Think of it as access levels. Okay, as you move up into multiple dimensions, you have access level at all those dimensions. And so that's what's happening. We have this opportunity to shift from being able to understand or experience only 3 levels or 3 dimensions of our universe to 5 dimensions or levels or even more. And that enhances your entire experience of life. You're able to be more intuitive and psychic. You're able to communicate to spirit because you're getting beyond this physical limit. You start to open up to the non-physical universe, the virtual particle field. So you're able to access multiple solutions. I literally couldn't believe the shift where when I was locked more in the 3-dimensional earth reality, earth plane, my mind could only visualize, very little. I couldn't even comprehend what it would be like to live, like other people. But as you start to open up to these 5 dimensions and higher, then everything is available and you can begin to put yourself into scenarios you would never even imagine before. So it's like the blinders come off and you have like your third eye is like the window to the universe. You're able to see and understand and be able to access so much more. So that's what's happening in the shift from 3D to 5D. Okay, when we do that shift, in how we manifest changes too. So when we were in the 3D earth plane, we had to think things through. I remember I was a project manager in the corporate world, and so they taught us time management, and I did scheduling, very detailed scheduling and planning and reviewing, and it was all mental. It was all mental. We had to literally push into the world to try to create anything. So in a way, our energy was pushing vertically out, and this is what we are evolving beyond, where instead of having to push out and make it happen, we're actually turning inwards and using our own magnetism to draw it in. This is truly how the law of attraction is supposed to work. In the 3D polarized field, it's very difficult to be able to do the law of attraction, because in an electromagnetic field, opposites attract. So for every positive action, we get this negative equal reaction pushing back on us. It's been really frustrating trying to live and create in a polarized field. But as we get beyond the 3D earth plane into the 5th dimensional field, it's a non-polarized field. It's a plasma field, and it's where we're able to live in harmony with all that is. So when I first started getting into it, it appeared to me like this. Imagine that you're kind of like in this sea of neutrality, and you have light and shadow and gray and everything, just all those particles bobbing in the sea with you. There's no polarity. They're all harmonious. They're like coexisting in harmony. That's the difference when we get into the 5th dimensional earth plane. So this then changes everything. Okay, if everything is neutral and everything is harmonious, and I'm not having to kind of battle that push-pull of polarity, and then how do you create? How do you manifest? How do you materialize anything? So it's literally through vibration. Whatever you vibrate with, whatever you intend, whatever you hold within you, you start to draw that to you from that neutral field. And so, in the beginning years, I was having a lot of trouble with this, and I was complaining to my higher self and saying, I can't seem to manifest anything. And they're like, well, if you're empty inside and you're not grounding into your body, you don't have any magnetism. And I was like, oh boy, okay. That was a big incentive for me to get grounded and get in the body, because then I'm present, and then I'm drawing what matches my own essence, my own consciousness, my own intentions and visions. Okay, so this is the shift. We're getting away from all that thinking mind and getting more into our body and into our hearts, and we're working with the sacred geometry. And you see here in the image, we have Metatron's cube at the base of our feet in our Stargate, and it's opening up this spiral. This torus is starting to form, where we're drawing in from the universe what matches our soul essence, our soul vibration. And it works. I tell you, I don't have to go out and push so hard out into the world. It's all starting to just flow in very smoothly and naturally, because I'm using my own soul presence magnetism. Okay, now this torus is so amazing, because what it's doing, not only is it bringing in from the universe, right? You're using your chakra pillar, and that's your conduit, and it brings it down the chakra pillar and pulls it into the core and into your magnetism. So it's helping you use the law of attraction. It's helping you draw in what matches you. It's also creating what I mentioned earlier, a 0 point neutral zone or null zone in the center where the torus meets. So the torus is coming up and the torus is coming down, and it meets right there at the heart solar plexus area, right in your core. That's why we run the infinity there. We want to neutralize that core center. Now, 0 point energy is basically zero gravity. It's a non-polarized state. It's actually a vacuum state. So starting to create a vacuum in the center of your core. And what does a vacuum do? It pulls energy in to fill it. So this is what keeps the momentum flowing of your Taurus. By holding a core neutral zone or null zone, the 0 point, you are creating a continuum of all this energy coming in to feed you. We were so disconnected when we were in the 3D field of the mind matrix. So we're repairing our energy field, and we're activating again this natural vehicle to bring in a continual stream of life force and abundance. It's so powerful that it also starts to alter where you're no longer in this polarized electromagnetic field. You are beginning to move more into creating a plasma field, and at that center vacuum state, you start to have the soul pulse. It looks like a strobe light in a sense. It's your soul breath, your soul heartbeat, and it's a singular pulse in your core that is called 0 point singularity. And that pulse is pulling the universe into you. You literally become the center of your universe, and everything is open to you and available to you. And it really is just what you focus on that pulls it in. This is why it's so important to watch what you focus on. If you keep focusing on what doesn't work and is negative, that's what you're going to keep pulling in. So it's working with the right brain and visualizing yourself living a healthy, happy, fulfilled life. That is then what starts to come pull from the holographic universe and into your own magnetism. So again, this is what we will use to shift into how we live in the fifth dimensional earth and be able to get free of all the stress and the angst and the efforting. Oh my goodness, the struggling. We start to let that all go. Everything becomes smooth as this continuum is flowing in. It's like a river stream just flowing through you, smooth and filling you with whatever you need. It is pretty extraordinary. Okay, so that is the information, just kind of background information I wanted to supply to you before we go into the activations. Now we're going to, before we go through the activations, I want to answer any questions you may have. So I think, Neil, let me check with you real quick and see if we have any questions in the chat room or the Q&A, and then we can go into the activations.
Okay, I'm checking right now. If anybody has any questions, please go ahead and ask them either in the chat box or Q&A area. Did you have more slides to go through, or did you want to go straight just into Q&A for the rest of the time?
Those are the background information. Let me see if there's any other notes here I want to share real quick. You know, we were talking about the 0 point field, and this is where matter and antimatter merge. So as we're creating that in the center core of our Taurus, this is then where the physical and the spiritual unites. This is how we're pulling the higher self down and in to connect and merge with the human self. So matter, antimatter, and spirit and human all starting to blend and unite and merge inside you. And if you think about that, when I look at it, you know, with more of my psychic eye, it's literally like a big sun just building in your core. That's your soul light coming in. That's your divine presence, and that light just builds and builds and builds even beyond the edge of the body into the magnetic field. And that's the force field that you are vibrating out to the world. That's the force field that you're grounding to Gaia. So that's what helps everyone help lift up the planetary field into higher and higher consciousness. This is how, you know, I was just talking more about how we were affecting our own fields, but you guys, simultaneously, we are also helping uplift the planetary field as well. So the more that you embody your light, your soul presence, the more your own vibration increases, and the more than that you help lift up the vibration of the planet as well. And this is what's been happening since I've been doing this for over 20 years. Boy, have I seen the change from when I started in the 90s, where everything was really dense and locked down and slow. It took me forever, you know, it took me months to pull out like one family system. Now everything is so accelerated because so many of the light workers have flipped on and are embodying and are grounding, that everything is speeding up, especially with the Schumann's resonance going higher and higher. We're breaking the time barriers. Everything's starting to go, you know, instantaneously, nanoseconds. You're starting to get, you know, these synchronicities showing up because your light is building such a powerful force field on the planet. So let's go ahead and I want to walk you through this, the activation steps. We've got 4 of them here. So we're going to first do the Stargate one, then we'll work with Metatron's cube and activate that at our feet in the Stargate. This is, again, the image of what we want to do is get Metatron's cube opened up and get the vortex starting to swirl around us, and then bring in and fill up that magnetism. So I see we have about 20 minutes here left, so let's go ahead and jump in. And if we have any time left after, I can answer questions on it as well, or you guys can email questions, but I wanted to at least get you an experiential feel for how this works. And then everybody will be in the bliss and in the vortex for the rest of the presentations. So we'll set it up for the day here. Okay, so imagine that this pyramid within the orb, this is where we're going to step into and ground with our feet magnets. Your feet chakras literally work like magnets. When I lock down, I can't lift them. That's how strong it really is, a good grounding technique. So I sit with my feet flat on the floor. And okay, so let's shift gears here for a bit. We've been in kind of the thinking mind a little here. Let's go use more of that psychic right brain that we visualize. And we'll take a couple deep breaths. Using the breath to move our life force, move our light. So inhale in light, inhale in life force, and then you can exhale out any stress of the day. You shake off any anxiety, just breathe it out. Imagine you are now stepping into your pyramid and get your feet locked onto the grounding platform of it. Feet magnets on. Okay, and now as we're grounding, imagine the light running down your leg channels through the feet and onto the light grid of our 5D earth plane. This is the light grid that wraps around the planet. These are ley lines of light. So you're going to get right on. There we go. Everyone's starting to lock on. And if there's a sacred site that you're really drawn to, you can even imagine you're grounding to that sacred site. I was in Mount Shasta for 4 years, and so I still use that as my base. I've also used the Pyramid of Giza as a sacred site that I lock onto. So whatever you're drawn to, you can't make a mistake on this. It's just energy. It's just vibration. You're getting really rooted into this grid work that wraps around the planet and has all these sacred sites. These are power centers. These are vortices. Okay, so we're locking in. We're in our pyramid. The orb is wrapping around the outer boundary of your aura, so you have a private sacred space inside. Your energy is no longer leaking out. You're able to maintain it inside your chakra pillar. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, now let's connect to spirit from the heart. We connect to our beloved mother, father, source, creator, the monad. And then from the heart, we connect to our oversoul presence. This is the original God spark of your essence, your divinity. We also connect to our soul family and origin. And let's bring in our spirit team of angels and guides and master teachers, calling them in for their support. As we're grounding to Gaia onto her 5th dimensional light grid in our Stargate, we connect to nature. Nothing can materialize without nature. So we bring in the nature spirits, the devas, and the elementals. These are the elements of air, fire, water, earth, ether. We call them inside your orb, inside your Stargate. Ah, there we go. All the way in. Okay, now we're going to embed Metatron's cube under your feet. So imagine that you're standing in the center 13th circle, and the 12 circles are out around the grounding around your feet. Stepping in, grounding onto Metatron's cube, and Lord Metatron is here to support us. Ooh, there we go, locking in. So now this, as you connect to it, your own light starts to activate it. Those 12 circles start to rise up as 12 pillars of light up and around the body. The outer 6 are around your orb, and the inner 6 are around your body. So imagine those rising up. They're actually starting to work like tuning forks. They're harmonizing with the 12 harmonic sound waves of Phi, P-H-I, of Phi. This is in the golden ratio of the Fibonacci sequence. So now they're all starting to tune you inwards. Now we hear this with the human ear as the sacred sound of Om. So now they're starting to vibrate. Good. And that begins to rotate them. And so here they go. They're starting to rotate from right to front to left to back. So counterclockwise spin. Get it spinning up. And as this begins to spin up, it starts to accelerate. Here we go. We want to go faster and faster towards the speed of light. Whew, up, 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 faster and faster. And this is how you increase your energy frequency. It's as simple as that. You spin faster every day, spin faster. Everything starts to get lighter. And also, as you can see from the image, it starts to propel out lower vibrational energy. The vortex is trying to balance you, balance opposites, starting to integrate you. It's building more union inside, more harmony inside. So as it's spinning, now we get it going so fast that it begins to unlock gravity. And there it goes. And it opens us up so we can access the energy body, the energy field, the energy chakra pillar. There we go. We can get into the chakra pillar now. And let's take that spiral, still counterclockwise, and we're going to start spiraling up the chakra pillar. And as you do that, imagine that you're kind of drilling open those chakras. We're moving the sludge out. We're like Drano, right? You're just spiraling out old emotional trauma and patterns and consciousness and density. Ooh, that's good. So as you're spiraling, we're going to go all the way up the 7 chakras, past the crown. Let's go into the 5 astral chakras above the head till we get all the way up to the top 12th chakra. And it's up here. Whew, we go all the way up. We connect up with our higher self. This is your gatekeeper, your guardian of your channel. And I always just see this big, beautiful light being opening up and connect like heart to heart, mind to mind with your higher, wiser self. Now, as I mentioned, each chakra acts like a gate to each of the 12 dimensions. So at the top of the chakra pillar, we're going to go through that 12th gate. We'll go into the field of light of the Godhead. So now we're really leaving the physical realm and we're going into the virtual particle field of electrons. So it's a golden field of vibrant electrical energy, the plasma field. We're getting into it. All the way up and in. So I just let go of the physical for a minute. Imagine you become like waves of light, like liquid light. And you're relaxing into the golden pool of light and merging in and blending in. There is no barriers here, no separation. You're starting to merge in oneness with our abundant universe. All that is. This is the holographic realm of all possibilities and outcomes and solutions. You're starting to open to all that is. Beautiful. And it's in this space that we then use our intention to connect to the soul presence in the Godhead through your unique energy signature. This is your soul vibration. Wherever your soul exists in all timelines and dimensions and levels of existence, we start to pull the soul to us. We're still spinning right to left, but now we're starting to pull the divine self, the soul light, back down the chakra pillar, Breathe it down and in. It's coming in as a stream of golden light and sound waves, and we target it especially into the heart center. So now you're starting to descend the higher self down and in. Breathe it in, spin it in, pull it in. Ooh, that's good. And just imagine in your heart like it's opening and receiving soul love, soul light, soul mastery, soul wisdom and knowledge and skills. Just breathe it in. All that you are. Your light is your power. So you're breathing in your soul power, your soul strength. And as this is coming into this center core, let's add the infinity 8 real quick here. We're going to, as you just saw in the image a while back, you're going to run the infinity at the core, at the heart solar plexus area, kind of in the upper belly, looping around the feminine over to the masculine on the right, feminine on the left. So you're starting to weave your infinity of light, figure 8 of light. And it's beginning to pull all those opposites into the center where they blend and balance and harmonize and unite. Good. And then we start to release out and spin out any negative polarized charge. Up and out. Whew, there we go. The vortex will spin it to source light to be transmuted. This is coming out of the physical cells. It's coming out of the chest and the emotions, out of the heart. Good. We release out. Anything that does not match your soul signature, that's ready to release. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to add the second infinity at the brain. Left brain, right brain, weaving masculine left brain over to feminine right brain. Just keep weaving. We're uniting the two brains into one mind. And as they unite, they start to release out any negative charge out of the mental body. Whoa, there we go. Vortex spins it up to source light. So what we're doing is we're starting to create that 0 point at the mind, 0 point at the heart and solar plexus. And it's beginning to pull more presence into you. That vacuum state wants to be filled. It pulls down from your higher self, down from the abundant universe. It's pulling in what matches your soul essence. Right? The soul presence, the soul energy is filling now into the magnetic fields. This Taurus is starting to really fill those magnetic fields with your soul light, your soul presence. Oh, that's great. Keep building and filling inside. It just kind of overpours out of the chakras and into the magnetic fields wrapped around them. These are buffer fields and they're taking it in. So when I get into this really powerful pulsing singularity inside, you've got the vacuum ready to pull in more. This is where you can then use your intention. And this is, you're going to use your right brain. You're going to visualize what you need to support you in your soul purpose and your soul's joy. You're going to visualize that you're already living it. It's already coming in. We're going to use this momentum and pull it down from the infinite universe. All that you need to support your soul mission, your soul purpose, your soul's joy, your soul health. So start calling it in. And you can be very specific as well. Visualize yourself pulling into your magnetics. Breathe it in, spin it in, call it in. Whew. And as that's coming in, you're holding it in your heart. So you have a container for it to be held inside. It doesn't just drain out. You hold the energy of it. You hold the vision of it. You hold how it feels to live that way. And you hold it in your heart. And it gets into the magnetic field. And you're grounding. You're still grounded onto the light grid. So you're holding it in place in the earth plane, so you can start to draw it into the physical world around you. And that creates the synchronicities. That creates a vehicle for it to slide in real smooth without effort or struggle. Oh, that's it. So now we're pulling in from the earth plane around us. We're pulling in what matches what we are holding dear in our hearts, Getting charged up with our light, powered up with our soul consciousness. And we're in that in-between state, the 0 point, where matter and antimatter come together and form our reality. And we set that in motion now. And so it is. So we're now grounding it in. This is where the vortex starts to spin very fast, and it's drilling it from the non-physical into the cells, into the physical. We're taking it in. We're grounding it deep inside into the molecules, the atoms in the cells. And you can tap on your arms, you can tap on your legs as you just ground it in, pull it in, spin it deep in. You're merging with it so it's one inside you. Good. Spin it in, ground it in, anchor it in. You are the alchemist. You are bringing the two worlds together. You're merging them together inside you. And they're coming alive in your light body. And as that grounds in and takes hold within us, that concludes our activations for today. And so it is.